Good afternoon once again, everyone. So our content for today will be about the basics of what is programming, what is coding. We'll know the introduction. We'll know about the programming languages. Overall, in general programming languages and programming languages that we can use in analytics. Then we'll know about what is data analytics, basics of it, and coding in analytics. And then you can ask me if you have any questions. So first of all, I would like to know, yeah, I think you people must be knowing it, but yeah, if anyone can tell me what is programming or what is coding, like medium of communication with the computer. So it's the art of giving instructions to a computer so that they can perform amazing tasks, right? It's like teaching a robot to do what you want to do, right? You cannot just say in English to a computer, like computer solve this task. Rather, you'll write a program, you'll write a code. You need to have a language with you, how you can communicate as a human, and you can communicate with the code. You can give instructions to a computer in the form of code to tell the computer what to do, like what to perform a task, right? So there are many languages which we can use for this. There are, like, we can say JavaScript, HTML, SQL, Python, Java, PHP, Go, Swift. So these are the five top languages which are most used by developers and like analytics as well. Like, these are the most popular languages. You must have heard of all these, right? So these are all the languages. Like, we have different platforms, different softwares, and we use different languages for different purposes. So, getting more into programming languages, we can say that there are low-level languages and we have high-level programming languages. So, low-level languages include like machine language, we have assembly language, then high-level languages are like we have object-oriented, we have procedural, and we have non-procedural languages. These are the different type of languages we can like distribute languages into. If you talk about low-level languages, these are hardware dependent and like difficult to understand, whereas high level languages are independent of hardware. So their codes are like simple. Developers can read, write, debug. So as like they are written in English language, right? So like whenever we write a code, we write using syntaxes. These syntaxes are like English syntaxes only, right? But the computer understands only binary codes, which is 1010. So the high level language which we use, which we write the codes, those are converted into 1010 binary codes, and the computer can understand only that. So like this is a basic of like programming. This is for those who are just new to it and just wanted to know what it is. So everyone is clear till now, or you have any questions? So this is like this, we talked about programming, the different languages we can use. So, like if you talk about procedural languages, we have C, Pascal. Non-procedural languages, where the language specify what to do, but does not specify how to do, is SQL, like SQL. It's a structured programming like query language. Then we have object-oriented language like C++, Java, Python, where we use objects for programming. Now, let's talk about data analytics. So, yeah, what do you know like when you hear of data analytics? What is data analytics? As the name itself suggests, data analytics. So, we are analyzing the data. So, it is a wider term. It is a like field that employs a wide range of analysis techniques, including like we use maths, use statistics, use computer science here. So, maths, we need calculations, a lot of calculation, because we have data, we have numbers, a lot of numbers. So we use maths, we use statistics to make graphs, to get the patterns, like the statistics, the graphs, different graphs we use to understand the patterns and the data. Then computer science, the role of computer science is like the coding part that we do. We use codes for each and every step, the every step that we perform. Even when we are doing the maths and statistics, we do that using computer science. We do that using programs, using codes, using programming languages, right? We don't do it on like paper pen or like on a board. We use computer, and to communicate with computer we need to have a program, a code, right? So it includes maths, statistics, computer science to draw insights from data sets. So it can be like simply analyzing data in a theoretical way, or like collecting data, creating the data frame you need to store. There, like, let's talk about some key concepts. So these are like descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. So descriptive means it tells you about what happened, like what is happening, the description. You'll get an idea by the name as well. Descriptive is like what happened. Then diagnostic, when you do the diagnostics, you tell us why something happened, what's the reason for something to happen. So you analyze the data and you're telling why something happened, right? And that's diagnostic part of it. That's called diagnostic analysis. Then predictive analysis, which you like talked about. So it tells us about what will likely happen in the future. So like the name itself suggests, predictive means you are predicting something, right? Now you have the data. We have data like for a company. We have data from last, let's say 5 years about their sales. There's a company that sells maybe like chips. Let's say chips, right? So they are selling chips, and let's take its Lay's, right? So they have data from last 10 or 15 years, and they now want to know, like, from last 10 years, they know what their sales were, like with like every year, every month, what are the sales, how many packets they make, and how many packets they sold. But now they want to know, like, for the coming 2 3 years, like how, like, will their sales go. So for example, they sold like 10 lakh chips, like blue chips, like the masala ones. They sold 10 lakhs in last year, and the green ones they sold 5 lakhs, and so on. Like from the past few years, they know the pattern. Now they want to know, like, what will be the sales in the next coming 2 years, so that they can plan their sales and their production accordingly, right? They'll make they'll if they know the number, if they know the prediction of what will be the sales, like they will require uh, like 12 lakh packs of their blue chips in the next year, so they'll make around 12 lakhs only, that will like help them to understand. They'll do the prediction and work according to the prediction, right? Similarly, like the next step is prescriptive analysis. So prescriptive analysis, like prescription, like you prescribe something, right? Like the doctor prescribes you, right? It tells you how to act, like what to do. You're giving a suggestion here. Like this is what's happening, and this is the prescription we prescribe you. We're telling you that as per the analysis, uh, this can be done. What can be done? We are giving a suggestion here, right? So data analysis, like key concepts are like we have descriptive, then we do diagnostics, then predictive, and then prescriptive analytics. Is it clear to everyone, or do you have any questions? Let's talk about more like from data analytics. So it's big, yeah, it's huge. So data analysis is a technique of collecting, transforming, and organizing data so that we can make, like, predict the future things, and like inform data driven discussions. So let's talk about more steps. Like, so it goes like data analytics typically moves through several iterative phases. These are identify, collect, clean, analyze, and interpret it, right? So to identify, like what is identify? So it's the business question. So if there is a company that has a problem, there is a problem, there's a business problem, there's a question. So first of all, the first step, you can only work on a problem when you know what the problem is. You can only find a solution when you know what the problem is. So you need to ask the question first, right? The first step is to ask the questions and to know what you want, what is the requirement, right? So the business questions, what business questions you'd like to answer, what is the result that you require, right? So what is the problem that you're trying to solve, that you need to identify first. So the first step is identification. The next step is to collect. So what do we need to collect? We need to collect data. Data,
Data.
yeah, right. We need to collect data, and that we need to collect from different sources. There are many sources. There can be like, I don't know. I don't think I can even count. There are many sources. So we can have data from multiple sources. We can have it from our database, or we can have it from CRM, which is like client relationship management. We can have it from social media. In fact, I would like to tell you, like, we can even download data from Twitter or like social media platforms. If you just want to analyze data about what's the trend going on like in Twitter right now, right? If there is election going on and you want to know what people's sentiment is, right? By sentiment, I mean what people want. Like if there's election going on, for example, in India, okay, and there are Lok Sabha elections, and you want to just have an idea of what people want. So you'll go to Twitter, like everybody tweets, every politician tweet, people tweet, and they share their ideas on Twitter and social media other platforms. So you go on Twitter, they allow you to like download 1% of the data that they have on any topic, and that 1% is huge. You're talking about Twitter. There's a lot of data and like millions and millions of tweets on one topic, right? So if you pick a trending topic and you want to know which party people are following, which is the leader people want, so you'll just type the name and you will search for it, and they'll give you 1% data of that, and then you can analyze it using keywords, right? And then know what people want, what their sentiment is. So this is just for trial, and if you ask them, if you like be a developer, if you pay them, they'll give you more data, right? So there are many sources of data that you can have. You can have it in Excel sheets. If you're working for a company, they might give you data from different sources. You might have to download from social media or any other platforms. So you need to collect data. So first you need to identify the problem. You need to identify what you want to answer, what are the questions. The second step is you need to collect the data accordingly, like what data is required, right? And when you have the data from different sources, you have to clean it, right? Because data is not always in the ideal form you want. Actually, it's never in the ideal form, right? Because you're getting data from different sources, it will be a different form. Like from somewhere you're getting 5 columns, somewhere you're getting 6 7 columns, or different data in different formats. You might have spaces, you might have spelling mistakes. You need to align all the data, right? You need to make it understandable, right? So yeah, so first you identify the problem, then you collect the data, then you clean it. You clean it by like, yeah, I'll tell you how we clean it. There are different like, we use coding as well, we use programming. These are the different steps. So we standardize the data. So this all comes into cleaning. Then we analyze to find, like, the main step here comes analysis. So what we are doing, why we are collecting data, is to analyze it, right? So after cleaning the data, when we have all the data from all the data sources, and we are doing the cleaning, then we finally move to analyzing it. So by analyzing, what we do when we analyze? So by analyzing, we manipulate the data using various data analytic uh, tools and techniques. And then like different stages, we might do data mining. We try to understand, we try to get the output, like insights. In this step, we try to get the insights from the data, a meaningful insight about, like, the raw data that we saw. The company don't understand that, but we, as a data analytics professional in the field of data science, we need to make sure that the data that we are getting, which is unstructured data, we make it structured, and then we analyze it to make it meaningful, so that someone, uh, a senior person or the stakeholder of the company, can understand the data. We need to make it understandable. We need to get insights. We tell, this is what was going on, this is what is going on, and what can happen in the future. These all predictions, that totally depends on the questions that are asked, right? The business problem that is. So we have the data, we like analyze the data, and we can show that in visualizations like you mentioned, Power BI or Tableau. These are the visualization tools in which we can show the patterns to the stakeholders and tell them what's happening. Instead of numbers, we can show them graphs which are more interactive and easy to understand, right? And then the final step that comes, that interpret. So the result that we get, the result of the analysis, to see how well the data answered your original questions, and what recommendations, like we spoke about the prescriptive analytics. So what recommendations can you make based on the data, and what are the limitations, and what is the conclusion about the data, the whole process that we did. Yeah, so these are the, like, we have data every day. Whatever we do, that creates data, or whatever, like in our daily life as well, we do a lot of things and we don't realize that, yeah, we are doing analysis, we are analyzing things. So when in your day, in your whole day, there is any time when you feel, yeah, you have done some analysis in your daily life, what analysis you did, an example, any such thing you can share. Data is everywhere and people use data every day, like whether we realize it or not, in our daily tasks. Like even while making a cup of coffee, we analyze like how many, like like beans we require in a morning coffee, check weather reports, and making decision like what to wear, tracking on like steps using the smart watches we use, like, how many like fitness trackers we use. That is all analysis. How many steps, for example, there is a sneaker company, a company that's making shoes. So they might look at the sales data to determine which design to continue and which to retire. Or a like healthcare administrator can look at inventory data to determine a medical supply. Like, so like, yeah, every industry require data analysis. They uh, analyze the data and do like work accordingly, so that like they can make informative decisions, right? So what is the importance of data analysis? Because earlier, like if you talk about the past decade, we didn't have too much data. I'll say in the past decade was the decade to collect the data, right? And this decade is to understand the data and to make the predictions. So now we have the data. We have data from the past few years. What we can do for an organization, we can make informed decision making. So now when we know what happened in the past few years, how the things went, so we can learn from that and make informative decision making, right? We can reduce cost, like when we know, like for example, the example that I gave you, if you remember, about the chips company. Like if Lay's know that they sold 10 lakh packs in the past year, and now they'll be selling 12 lakhs pack in the next coming year, right? So what they can do, they'll only make 12 lakh packs instead of 13 or 14 lakhs packs, right? They know, they have an idea. So this way they can reduce cost. Because if they'll make 14 lakh 15 lakh packs, and they'll have a wastage of, like, the chips will expire, right? They have an expiry of 3-4 months, so they're gonna expire. So it's better to know, better to have a prediction, better to, when you have the data, better to analyze it and know what can happen, and you can work accordingly, so you can reduce the cost. The other importance is that you can target the customer better. You'll know your target customer. You'll, by the analysis, by the data that you have, you'll know the age group of data. Like what is the age group which is eating more chips? Like you have the data, you know that like the where our target audience comes under, like from 8 years to 20 years, or like 20 to 25. So you're gonna target, you're make gonna how are you gonna target them? Okay, if you know your target audience is that comes under the age of like 8 to 15, I'll say. So your marketing will be focusing them, right? You'll if you'll give a lazy ad, you'll take some hero or hero actor actress, like they'll be loving those, like 8 to 15 years of, like जो range है वो किस क्या पसंद करते हैं. If they like some character, they'll use that cartoon character, or like this way they can focus on that age group, right? They'll target that customer better. They'll know whom to target, whom to spend money on. It's not like that you're gonna target, you'll take Amitabh Bachchan and you'll target the like older population, unlike that, right? You know whom to target by knowing who is your audience, right? This is how you can target customer better. The next thing is like product development. So you know what people want and you can develop your product, you can make changes to it accordingly. And then the risk management. So you when you know your history, when you know the predictions, when you know the trends, so you can manage risk easily. When you know about your company, when you know about your data, it will be easier to manage your risk, right? So yeah, any questions here?
Clear, sir.
Clear, getting it?
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm getting it, sir.
Yeah. So now let's talk about programming languages in data analytics. So earlier we talked about different programming languages that we have. But when we specifically talk about data analytics, so we come across like not all languages that we saw, not all programming languages can be used in data analytics. So these are like the most used programming languages that we can see. The most used is Python, then we use R, we use SQL, we use C++, we use JavaScript. These are the all languages that we can use in data analytics. So this is a graph of like trend you can see. This is from 2019, the analysis, like the most used programming languages. We can see Python is the most used when we talk about data analytics. So 87% of the professionals use Python in data analytics, then SQL, then comes R, Java, C++, JavaScript, and all these. You must have heard of all these, right? Some of you are even like in this field and others as well. You can have a look at this. So if you are like thinking of like pursuing it, if you want to be a professional in data analytics, yeah, you are here because you are interested, right? So if you want to pursue your career here, you can like focus on these languages, the top language. I'll recommend like Python, SQL. These are the most trending right now. So yeah, that'll be my suggestion. Rest, these all are the trending apps, languages. So now we talk about the role of coding in analytics. So now we talked about what is coding, what is programming, the languages, and we talked about data analytics. Now the role of coding in analytics, right? So what we can do using coding analytics. So we obtain data, we clean it, we analyze data, and then we do visualization. So by obtaining data, I mean getting the data. When we talked about getting data, right, we talked about getting data from different sources. I also told you about that we can get data from different social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook. So this is how we can get this. We need to use programming. We have different tools. We get data from different sources. Like if we use Python, so in a Python script we can have so like data from different sources, and then we need to collab that, right? So we are getting fetching data from different sources, the data that we require, and then we merge it. We do the cleaning. The second part comes cleaning. We merge it. We make it as per our requirement. So that data that we are getting, we are using like coding programming languages to fetch the data from different sources, right? Then the next step is cleaning data. So how can we clean the data? We are not going to do it manually, right? It's a lot of data, millions and millions of records, and you know that we can have only, like if we talk about Excel, right? Everybody use Excel. So if we do it manually, we'll have to do it on Excel, right? And it can have only 1 million data and not more than that. So we have millions and millions of data, and like data can be uh, dynamic. It can like be changing every day, right? It'll be increasing every day. You'll have a million records every day. So what you can do, we'll have a code which will be running when we have data every day. It can run every day, right? We can automate the code as well. So for the cleaning process, what we do, we can have label errors, we can have outliers, we can have missing values. So all these things we'll do the data manipulation using coding only, using programming languages. We cannot do it manually because that's a lot of data. So yeah, this is where coding plays a role. Then we analyze the data. So Yeah, when we talk about predicting, when we talk about analyzing, when we talk about getting insights from it, this also can be done using coding. Actually, yeah, we do it using coding only. When we talk about like predicting, we talk about machine learning. So these all techniques, machine learning algorithms, we can only use by using programming. So we analyze the data using coding. Then the final steps, when we talk about the visualization, so the result that we get, so the interpretations and our suggestions, we can only show that in graphs and a manner when the user, the third person, the person who is who has no idea about the codes, he can only understand that using visualizations. So our job is to interpret the data and show it in visualization graphs so that the final person, the user, can understand it. So that visualization, we can use visualization tools like someone mentioned Power BI and Tableau. Instead, we can also do it using programming languages. In Python and R also, we have different libraries like matplotlib, if you have heard of it. So we can use those libraries and we can make graphs using our program also. There's a short code, a short syntax that we need to run, and it will create a graph when we can have the visualizations in the same tool. So in the same script, in the same uh, screen, we can fetch the data, we can do the manipulations, we'll do the cleaning, we'll analyze it, and then in the same script we can have the visualize to like data. So this is how we can use a programming language and have it everything on same script on same page, right? Yeah. So this is how we can use coding and analysis. Do you have any questions till now? Okay. So like just a simple example. So we talked about many languages, there are different languages, but we can execute same code using different languages. So for example, we have the most popular example, right? Wherever you search of it, you'll get hello world, right? So if you want to type hello world, so in different languages you can perform the same task. Like if you talk about Python, just write print hello world and you'll have print like hello world as a result. But the same thing you can do it JavaScript, you'll just have a different syntax. So this print that highlighted in blue, this is the syntax that we use. Similarly, we have in JavaScript, we have console.log. So only the scripts, like the syntax is different, the output will be same. So this is how we use different languages. It's the preference of the company, which language they use, or the preference of individual, which language they want to work on. So we can have same outcomes from different languages. About the future. So if you pursue your career in data analytics right now, so you will be concerned about how the future is. Yeah, the future is totally for coding. The future is coding in both. It can be coding or no coding arguments. Like we know that by the introduction of Chat GPT, we are too much into AI, and we know like earlier we said we cannot just write in English, right? Like I mentioned in the beginning, and ask the computer to perform a task. But if we talk about artificial intelligence, we can yes write in English and have few results, right? But that's not all of it. The future will be combination of it. You will have to code. You can ask the AI. AI will be helpful. That will pace you up. It will help you to work faster, make better decision making, make better use of your time. But yes, like coding and analytics is a future, so you can surely like pursue if you want. So yeah, that's, I think there's a scope for the future. Then I would like to like share a famous quote by Martin Luther, so like which says any fool can write a code that a computer can understand. Good programmers write code that humans can understand. So I want, by this I want to tell you like, yeah, it's not that coding you have to do it needs to be complex and like it'll be a difficult thing. It's important to write a code which others can also understand. So for that we write comments and all, right? It's important to write a code which is easy to understand. So if you have written a code and like someone else opens your code, so it should be easier for him to understand and make the like manipulations of or any changes required. Yeah. So this was from my side. I wanted to share the basics of uh, programming, coding, data analytics with you. If you have any questions, you can surely ask.
Yes, so thank you so much, sir. So before we move towards our quiz, let's see some questions I can see in the chat. There's one question: is Python easy to understand?
Yeah, if we'll say, uh, if you compare Python to other languages, I'll say yes. And if, of course, if you are looking for an easy language, like your questions itself tells, right? You are looking for a language which is better to understand and easier to learn. I'll surely say, comparative to other languages, yeah, Python is easier. And if you talk about data analytics, we are not here to write like big codes, right? We don't do like we don't write big codes here. We just use Python to do data manipulations. We use simple codes to fetch data, to do like cleaning of data. And yeah, I'll say, to answer your question, Python is easier than if we'll talk about Java, C Sharp, C++, other languages. Yes, Python is the easier one. And if you want to start, I'll recommend, yeah, start with Python. It's on boom as well. Python has the
Yes.
future. You can do many things. You can like everything that other languages do, Python can also do. Python will be easier to understand. You can do visualization. You can manipulate data. Yeah, go for Python. I
Great,
recommend.
thank you so much. I can see one more question. What are some common challenges when coding for data analytics?
When there are challenges, right? If we have challenges, then only we'll learn, right? It will be easier if we know everything. So if we do data analytics and we use, so there are different challenges we get on daily life. So for example, uh, we have to work on some data, and we have to do some prediction. We are using a machine learning algorithm there, and we are trying regression and it's not working. Yeah, it happens, we are not getting the desired result, so we do hit and like trial on different algorithms. So at that time, what we do, internet is open, right? You go and search. There are different platforms like Quora, we have GitHub. We go and like we ask our questions there, and there are people there, they're ready to answer your questions. Whatever questions you have, they'll just answer your question. There are many people, you ask one question, there'll be many to answer there. So yeah, we get challenges on every day, but with every challenge, we do search. Like we got a challenge, we're gonna ask our seniors. One of my seniors here, Dhruv is here.
Hey, hey everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, I can add to this. Uh, like we get daily level challenges. For example, one of the challenges, for example, if you want to extract the data and the data is not available in a easily ingestible format. For example, let's say you want to get the all the hashtags from Twitter, or let's say you want to capture a video stream. So that is a bit challenging if you have not done it earlier, right? And apart from this, let's say you get the data in your system, but how to interpret it, because the code language might be very difficult to understand, or what the code structure would be. So basically, you want to interpret in. So basically, let's say you get the data now, right? You know how to fit the requirement, but let's say the code is not very compact. It is not able to handle large volume of data. So that here comes the scalability. So let's say you want to ingest data for last 10 days, and in one day there might be billion of tags, billion or trillions of tags which are done and but how to handle this, you have to make sure that your infrastructure, or let's say PySpark or whatever tools you are using to handle that data, that are scalable. In fact, the code which you are writing, that's also scalable. And then last comes the performance, because whenever you want to go to some website or something, you want the users to they should get the answers quickly, rather than waiting for long amount of time, right? Let's say you go to some website, if it keeps on scrolling, it kinds of very disgusting. So you want it to be done, it should appear quickly, right? So that's why the performance comes into picture. And how to improve it, that is another challenge which we so there are some practices to be done for that. Yeah, so I mean that's the crux.
Okay, so like data analytics is about analyzing data, right? So we and data mining is like getting data. So like those are just like two different steps, I'll say.
Mm.
So first we mine data. We need to have the data. When we do the mining, we are getting the data. The data analysis is about analyzing that data. So it's like predicting or analyzing, getting insights from the data. And mining is like getting the data. So like first you get the data and then you do the analysis of it. So that's the different. These are the two like different steps of it.